Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support. Good evening, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam on this continuing to be rainy Monday evening. How's everyone doing out there? So I would have finished this book last week, but I got sick. I got really sick, and if you want to hear the details of that, I think I talked about it when I talked about Daredevil last week. I'm not going to get back into it, but I got sick. I am now better. I am able to finish the book because I listen to the audiobook, and I do that while I'm at work. So I can bang it out in like 8-hour intervals and then just be like, boom, done. Takes that. I could basically space out how long it's going to take. The issue is the book came out Tuesday. Wednesday is the day I got sick, very early in the day at work. Thursday I was also out. Friday, and you're probably saying, well, why didn't you just listen at home? I was in no state to do that, entertain anything, so it is what it is. I slept for about 15 hours and had a massive fever, so no, that didn't happen. Which is probably for everyone's benefit. But the book we're here to talk about is Sunrise on the Reaping, the 5th Hunger Games book. This one telling the story of the 50th Games, the second Quarter Quell, which is the games that Haymitch ended up winning. Haymitch as portrayed by Woody Harrelson in the movies. Now, I think this is, like, when we talk about the books, I think some of the movies are better than some of the books. Like, I think the movie for Ballad and Songbirds and Snakes is better than the book for Ballad. And I know that that's an unpopular opinion. If you go back and listen to me talk about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, you'll hear why. It's kind of this idea that, like, I think Snow comes off too wishy-washy, which is not what you need from that character. Like, he's almost not too sympathetic, and he's almost too much of a victim in the book. I think that taking away Katniss's internal monologue from the 4 movies, and then, the 3 books into the 4 movies is a detriment to it. I think it's a benefit to the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because it does let you play this, like, does he actually care about Lucy Gray? Does he not? I think it works better there. So, to that end, very similarly, I have a same kind of feeling about this one. I feel like this is a very strong book, and I don't know if this is just recency bias. I don't know if it is, me looking at the, thinking about it, kind of, I finished the book today and kind of being like, there are things I liked, there are some things that didn't quite work for me. But one of the things I think that really did work, which is a surprise, and then this is something that probably the listeners of the show will come as a surprise, is that if you know me, you know one of the things that bothers me in prequels is when they introduce these huge ornate things, and then that aren't in the original medium. And there's really no reason why these wouldn't be mentioned. Like the Covey and all of that being in the book, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, that is so far in the distant past to what this book is. Like, we're talking 40 years removed. That, okay, that's not, if that's not there, I can understand it. Even if it was in this one, which, they play a big part. But then by the time you get to Katniss, we're now 64 years removed. Yeah, I can kind of understand that. It's a odd situation all around when you're this close and the main character of this book has such deep ties to the Covey, and then it ties, and there's going to be spoilers. I'm just going to say that right now. The name of the show would Beware of Spoilers. I'm going to put spoilers in the title and in the description. So if there are spoilers and you get mad at me, don't get mad at me, because I gave you ample warning that there will be spoilers here. The idea that even Katniss herself has ties back to the Covey, as confirmed by this book, because the book kind of canonizes the fan theory that Katniss is related to. It's distant, but Katniss is related to Lucy Gray. The whole thing is the idea that the Covey was so big and such a big part of District 12 life, that I think that it's weird that doesn't get mentioned later on. And that was something I thought I was going to bump into, because early on that's how I felt. But then as the book goes on, and as it kind of explores what's happening, and then kind of, what happens with the Covey, I think we need one more book kind of to lay out what happens with the Covey. And I think that what that book's perspective has to be is, I think that, okay, so, how do I put this? This one is kind of about the Mark 1 attempt at fucking up the games. Because Catching Fire is the final attempt at marking up the games. I'm not going to call it the Mark II, because I think we're going to get another one. But a lot of the things that kind of go into what gets used in Catching Fire is kind of dry ran here. They try to sink the computer by blowing up an underground tank of water to flood the computer and take it down that way. It doesn't work. This is where we get the idea of throwing the explosive into the shield. That's, that is something that is, important to, that's important to kind of note, because that's what ends up happening. How Katniss ends up taking down the thing. She doesn't use an explosive. She used the bolt of lightning and the arrow. But that is, that's what kind of happens. It's all important things that need to happen for the escape in Catching Fire to happen. So, where does that put the cast in this? Which I think is kind of like the $10 million question. If we're gonna sit here and and act like this is the only run, and then it's like, well, we'll wait 25 years, and then when we get the second chance to do this, we'll do it again. I don't, there's biding your time, and then there's the fact that Plutarch gets a hand in designing the games, and Plutarch's heavily involved here and trying to do that. I think the idea that what kind of needs to happen is we need to have another book with the proto-Katniss. Because at the end of the day, what this is going to be is this is going to be the, the story of District 12. Like, this trilogy is about District 12 tributes. It's like, I was thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, like, they're probably going to want to tell a story for Finnick or for Joanna, or even, like, go back further and do one for Mags, or do the games right before this for BT. Like, these are all things that they could do. I don't think they would necessarily work as well, because I think what you end up doing when you do that is you lose the District 12 of it. And I think that the Rebellion's entire, like, identity, as defined in the main trilogy, is steeped in the lore of District 12. I think we really need to flesh that out more. So you can do whatever games number it was that Finnick won. You can do whatever games number it was that, what's it called? What was his other name? That Joanna won. You can do whatever games those were. But what you need is you need to tell it through the perspective of District 12. And I don't think the way the epilogue is here precludes you from doing that. I don't think the epilogue kind of makes it where it's like, oh, and now Haymitch is going to tell this story. But it's like, I feel like if he was like, and here's the story of, like, and one other time we came close to doing it, that would be kind of a cool thing to try and do. And then it's like, look, and because that's the other key thing that's missing here, I feel, is that in this one, in the you know, when the tributes are all you know, training to do that, and they start building alliances, in ways that they really don't in Katniss's games. Like, by the time we get to 74, there isn't a ton of alliance building outside of unless you're the careers. There isn't a ton of alliance building outside of you and your tribute from your district. Like, you know, like Katniss and what's it called? Like, Katniss and Rue is a big moment because it's inter-district solidarity between 12 and 11, which is why but what makes that weird? And especially considering in this games, like, there's a huge alliance. Basically, everyone is in an alliance, and what does that mean? And I think that what needs to happen now is that the Capitol will, after this games, realize, oh, we can't really let that happen. So what's going to be the games that's going to drive them to not work with each other beforehand? Drive them to not care, and how do you do that? Because that's what this is, too. The other thing this is about is propaganda. And there's a reason why Plutarch is such a heavy part of this. Because Plutarch is a key propaganda maker. Him and Cassiopeia, I think her name is. Or is that the guy from... What's it called? Is that from Pokemon? Natalie Dormer's character. From the movie. Who's the videographer. Like, they do a... You know, they are building out the propaganda arm of the Capitol, editing footage, manipulating timelines with video, and being like, yeah, we're not going to use generative AI. They basically said, like, we had our version of the Butlerian Jihad. We're not going to use generative AI, but they still do, and they just kind of, you know, do it under secret. Like, we would never do that, but we're going to do it anyway. It's a very interesting place to put this world this far out from when we get to the end of, you know, the end of the games, because we are at this point 24 years away from the last actual Hunger Games. Because, like, yeah, the 75th Hunger Games happens, where it's like that's the third quarter quell, but, like, what was the thing that, like, it's a weird thing. I want to see that. I want to see what it was like. Where does that decision come from? And I think that what would be an interesting thing for that book would be, you could do it with diverging timelines, or, like, not a diverging timeline, but, like, separate chapters told from different perspectives of different people, like as they try to do their own thing. That might be not want to say complex for Suzanne Collins, because that feels dismissive, but like I would say for a YA audience, I don't know if that's something that would necessarily work. And then the other thing is, it's a YA audience, so you really can't follow. Like, YA is, if I remember correctly, it's not defined by like grade level or anything. It's defined by the age of the protagonist. So like inherently, once you start following Old Man Snow, it does this like for individuals, like for. No, that can't be. But, I mean, if he's a third protagonist, then maybe, but who knows. But it's like, I'm not telling her how to do her job. She knows what she's doing more than I do. I did really enjoy this book, though. I really enjoyed what she was how she was trying to tie this into the modern era very well. And I think she did a great job of it. The idea that like, they never confirmed when the what Reaping Day was, and for them to make it just July 4th, it's like, oh, okay, that tracks. Like, I buy that. That's cool. And I'm not even getting into like the real heartbreaking stuff that happens with like, how they just break Haymitch for what he did, and it's this idea of like, when you get to the end, and it's like, he's like, you got to play their game. If you don't play their game, they will do things to you that you can't even imagine. And it's like, oh, they did that to him, and now like we see what they did to him, and it is just so beyond just fucked. Like, it is so beautifully sad, the end of this book. And the thing is too, it's like the relationship between him and his other tributes is just so different, because he doesn't really want to. He has no desire to be in the game. Granted, I mean, who does? But I just think that like the way they handle it is so great. What else did we want to address with this? I feel like there was definitely more than I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I mean, I want there to be, like, maybe it is someone from the Covey ends up being, being the person, and it's like, maybe it, like, that would be something that would be kind of interesting, because I think I'm going to interpret it this way. And again, I was listening to the audiobook, which I love audiobooks, and it's how I do most of my reading at this point, because I'm at work so much, and I can have an earbud in so I can just listen to the audiobook while I'm working. But like, what I love about the one thing is that it's like, I don't know if I quite caught this right. Is it implied or is it explicit that like where the hidden like grave is, where the Covey go, like the hidden mass grave for the Covey, is that the same house that's destroyed that Katniss and Gale find the two people on the run to District 13 in Catching Fire? Because like, look, I think the recipe for success forward is you do it about, Haymitch is there, and this person is the one that he thinks he's going to do it. It's someone from the Covey. It's someone who has this distinct memory of that they want to, tell the story of Lucy Gray. And then it's just, despite all their efforts, like, that's the thing, is that it's like a lot of the things that they don't bring up, it's because the Capitol doesn't let them. The Capitol changed the tapes. And it's like, that's not, like, the way that we see Haymitch win is not the way that it's described when they describe it. They don't describe it in the Hunger Games. They describe it in Catching Fire, like, and when they watch Haymitch's games, it's, the idea that he wins, he wins differently from that. It's the way they explain it is the Capitol was fucking with the video footage to make Haymitch look worse. And it's so well done, I think. But on that note, I think that's as good a place as any to wrap up for today. Go check out Sunrise on the Reaping. It's the new book from Suzanne Collins about the, from the Hunger Games. I'm eagerly looking forward to the movie. I'm looking forward to, I forgot his name, but Philip Seymour Hoffman's son coming back. I mean, that's almost a definitive. I don't know why you would, I feel like that's definitely got to happen. I'm interested to see who they cast in some of these other roles, and let's see when this cast starts getting announced, because they got to get the ball rolling on this movie. If it's coming out next, If it's coming out next November, they got to get this shit rolling. We got 18 months, give or take? No, more than that. Like 20 months. Yeah. Still, got to get this shit on the road, so we'll be getting casting pretty soon, I think. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. And if she wants to do a third of these prequel books, I will be there day one. I will be. But that's it for today. Friday, we will be doing Bob Trevino Likes It, which is a movie that premiered last year at Sundance. That did the festival circuit pretty well last year. You heard us talk about it a lot on 30-minute reviews, because it kept popping up and getting various jury awards and audience awards at all the different film festivals around the country. And I think it played at Hamptons, but I didn't see it. But I'll be seeing it Friday. We'll be talking about that, because I'm not going to see A Working Man. I don't need to see Jason Statham, doing Jason Statham things. I don't need to see that. I'm probably going to skip Snow White at this point, because whose mind am I going to change? But we'll wrap up there for today. What was the other thing I wanted to say? We do have another book coming up. And not just, we'll be doing V.E. Schwab's new book in the near future. We will have, granted, Wednesday we have our new episode of Daredevil that we'll talk about, but we will be doing the new book from Amal Al-Muthar, I think her name is, who wrote This Is How You Lose a Time War. I'm going to restart that. It's only 5 hours, so I'll be able to burn through that. We'll probably do that tomorrow night. If not tomorrow night, we'll do that on Wednesday night. But we'll get that out this week. That way we can, we'll talk about that a little bit. But we are definitely going to be doing Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, which is coming out later this year. And I got to get on that, actually, and see what other books are coming out later this year that we can talk about. But we will wrap up there for today. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.